not even need Bauer's game for me.
It's the games coming in. It's the games going out. Games in, games out. Love doing those weird theme songs. This is Games In, Games Out. Ahoy there, YouTube. This is the segment where I do a whole bunch of little baby reviews, pretty much telling you about the games that are going into my collection and the games going out of my collection and everything in between and why they are doing that. So we'll start off with this one right here. This is OK Play. It used to be called Chinko Linko. It's from Big Potato Games. For some reason, I have 3 copies of this game. I'm not sure. I think it's because they changed the name and they sent me another edition because I'm on the reviewer list. But I have one in my classroom because the kids really like it. It's a Connect 4-esque game. I have one at home because my son really likes it. We need to do a Bauer Family Learns on that. And I just have an extra one. So this one is going to be one of the games that I give away to a kid in my class who has like a really great behavior day. So we have the clip chart. Next we got Last Word Standing. I dug this. This is a word game. It has an interesting take where you're trying to just kind of battle royaling with trying to make the largest word. And I enjoyed the game. However, it's a game that I don't see hitting my game night too routinely. So as a result, it is going out of the collection just because with word games, and especially with word games where a very robust vocabulary can help you out, there's always the problem when you get 4, 5, 6 different players of very different skill levels. And there's not as many games as I would like there to be that can really kind of narrow that skill level. And this one, I definitely feel like if you have a larger vocabulary, you're probably going to do better in the game. And unfortunately, I just don't see it hitting the table, so it's out. Next, we have Diced Tomatoes. This was a really light family weight game that I enjoyed, where you're going to be rolling dice and giving people dice, giving dice to yourself and giving dice to other people. A little bit of take that aspect to it. Very light, gateway level. I enjoyed it. The kids in my class enjoyed it to a certain extent, but it doesn't really do anything that amazing that warrants me keeping it in the collection, so that one is, unfortunately, out. Next, we have Cutthroat Caverns, which I actually was going to get rid of, but now I've decided to keep it, primarily because there's a lot in this box. So this is the Anniversary Edition, and it has like really nice components and a whole bunch of the different scenarios, and I like the game a good deal. There's another game that has like a similar sort of feel to it that I liked a little bit better from Simo. It was based on that really popular Dark Souls or Legend Souls, Dark Legend, something like that. The really difficult game. They made a board game based on that, or a card game based on that. I liked it a little bit better than this, but I think I'm going to keep this one because I think my son might like it when he gets old enough to play it. This one might be a little bit on life support on the shelf, but I think it'll be there at least until my son gets old enough to play it and see if he likes it a lot. Because I do really like the game, and I like the theme, and I like the gameplay of it. Next, we have Ironhelm, and this is part of my Bauer Spotlight series where I spotlight a different game crafter game every month. Diced Tomatoes was as well. I'm getting rid of Diced Tomatoes. This one, however, I am keeping absolutely, yes. Ironhelm is one of the funnest solo games I've played. Really stinking cool. Comes with 2 spectacular playmats if you pay the extra, and I would highly recommend getting the playmats, even though I lost one of them. I think I dropped it. I have not found it, which is a bummer. It really helps you, and I've run some kids in my class through this game, just letting them make all the choices. And if you have kids that are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, I think they're absolutely going to love doing that. Not to mention, this is just a fun solo game yourself. Really dig this one. Highly recommend Ironhelm if you're a solo gamer. Next, we have Obscuri. This is one of those rare games that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I'm still going to keep because I know my game night will get it played from time to time. So I have attention deficit hyper disorder. My brain just works differently, and that really is evident to me when I play games like Mysterium and Dixit and, yes, Obscuri. And so I enjoy the game to a certain degree, but honestly, if it was not such a unique game, I would not be keeping it. But I would like to have games like this in my collection because I have a lot of people over to play games, and if they really like Dixit and Mysterium, I think they're probably really going to enjoy Obscuri as well. And I actually like this better than the first 2. So next, we have Zouk, the Mayan calendar, because now we're doing some videos on some older games to see if they stand up the test of time, and Zouk absolutely does. Absolutely spectacular rondel game. Great components. I like the artwork. Very, very simple. Like, that's the biggest reason why I'm keeping this, is because this is a game where I could play it 6 months from now. I get open the box. I read, like, the first couple pages, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to play this. Because on your turn, it really is just as simple as placing as many meeples as you want and paying the cost, or picking up as many meeples as you want and getting the goodies. And that's it. There's like the upgrades and all sorts of different stuff, and there's different strategies you can take, but man, such a clean clean system. Really love Zouk. Into the collection. Hopefully I'll get an expansion. Next we got Dizzle. This one I was on the curve about. I am going to be keeping it because the kids in my class went absolutely nuts for this game. Plus, there's a level 5 and a level 6, so this is a very simple roll and write game. We're going to be marking off bombs, and there's a poop emoji, and there's different spots, and they do different things. There's no real theme whatsoever, but there's 4 different levels, and it progressively gets more intense, more advanced, I guess. And then they also have a 5 and a 6, which I'd like to get eventually. I think the kids in my class would really like that. So Dizzle, I'm going to be keeping because the kids in my class really went nuts for this. So if you have kids, I'd say between the ages of, say, 7 to 11 years old, you might want to check out Dizzle. Also, it plays relatively well solo. There's the rules for OK Play. Next, we have Villainous. This one's going into my collection because it's my son's game, and this is a really special game to me now because we got this for my son for Christmas, and my game night was super cool, and I was like, hey, can he come down and play this game that he just got for Christmas? And they were like, absolutely, and they taught him how to play the game, and we ended up winning the game, even though the game stretched on forever, because that's what happens with Villainous when you get more than 3 players. But needless to say, I imagine we're eventually going to get all the different expansions, the Marvel expansions, the inevitable Harry Potter expansions they're going to get, like with Funko, and we're going to have Golden Girls expansions or something insane like that. Star Wars. Oh my gosh, yes, Star Wars, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader. It's Disney. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yes, I'm keeping it. If it wasn't for my son, I might. That one I'm torn on, but either way, I don't have to be torn on it because it's my son's. Next, we have Cities Skyline, the board game, a game I was really excited about, and we did a Thoughts from the Corner on this, and we played it 4 players, and I said this in the video, and I'll say it again. Legitimately, I had read the rules once or twice. I read them the day before and the day, and I was in the process of reading them then. We had 2 people with PDFs of the rules pulled up, and then my friend Jimmy asked to look at the rule booklet as well. So all 4 of us were looking at the rule booklet, trying to figure out some of the rules in this game, and yet we still screwed up an essential rule of the game. At that point, I'm going to say it's not on us, it's on you, Cosmos. And for that reason, it really soured this game for us. And I did go back and I played it the correct way, but it does change things a good deal. But still, my biggest issue with this game is that there was too much randomness for my liking. This is a game all about synergy and trying to get the right cards, or the right tiles down, and then play a different tile, which is going to gain you a bunch of money. And I just felt like it was too random to really enjoy. And City Skyline was a very big disappointment for me, and also for my game group as well. Next, we have Red Outpost. This is the new one from Lifestyle Board Games. This, I did a Kickstarter video for, and I enjoyed the game. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great, and I thought they really needed to include a solo or a cooperative version of the game, and they actually are including that. That was part of the Kickstarter, so I was really happy to hear about that, and they're going to send me a full version of that. So I'm not going to keep this. I'll give this prototype to somebody, probably. I don't know. Or maybe he'll ask for it back. Who knows? But it's a really interesting game. It's a worker placement game, but all the workers are different workers, so it has like kind of asymmetrical workers to a certain degree, and all of the resources are out there, and the workers and the resources are shared by the different players, but it's not a cooperative game. So it is a competitive worker placement game where it's Communist Russia, where you share resources and you share workers. It has some really cool mechanisms. I got to give you that. The mechanisms really connect to the gameplay as well, which was something that I really liked, but I think I'm going to like it a little bit better as a cooperative game. So this one, it's going to depend on how much I like it as a solo and a co-op game, whether or not I'm going to keep it in my collection. Purely as a competitive game, I didn't think there was enough meat on the bones, at least for my group personally. Next, we have Simo. This is a really simple game in which you're going to take these big Tetris-like pieces and you put them onto the card, and it's nothing really special. I don't know why I kept it. I think I kept it to put in my classroom, but I played it with a couple kids, and they were like, it's okay. So, out. Next, we have Breakaway Football. This is another one of the Game Crafter series, and I will start off by saying this is the best football card game. This is the best football board game or card game I've ever played. This is the best sports board or card game that I've ever played, and you can tell that the people that designed this game, because I think there was 4 designers, even though the box only says 1, I could be wrong about that, so don't quote me on that, absolutely loved football, and it shows in this game. But I will say, if you're not a big fan of football, don't get this game, period, because it will feel fidgety, because They really wanted to cover everything. How the offense works, how the defense works, how the punting works, how the special teams works, how the kicking works. Well, I guess that's part of special teams. How to coffin corner kicks, how you can use overtimes and you can challenge things. And all those elements are like little extra rules that really intertwine well with the gameplay if you know football well and you actually understand why you take timeouts or why you use challenge flags or why you would, throw a Hail Mary or play a prevent defense. So this one is purely for football fans, but if you're a football fan, this is spectacular 2 players. Now, it also includes a solo variant, which has the potential to be absolutely amazing, and it is to a certain degree, but it still needs some more rules clarifications, which might be on the website. For instance, how does the AI use the challenge flag, or how do they use their timeouts? Little stuff like that where you have to make the decision based on what you think they would do. I wanted that to be taken out of my hands because I was so focused on being the coach of my team. But still, Breakaway Football. If you like football, check this out. Absolutely. Next, we have, throat's getting dry, Obelisk. This was a very interesting cooperative game in which you're trying to navigate clouds through a dreamscape or something like that. It's a tower defense game, a cooperative tower defense game, and I enjoyed it a good deal. And I'm going to be keeping it because the kids in my classroom also liked it a good deal. And I think if you're into lighter style games, or maybe an on-the-go style games, because this is 30 minutes, you can take this to a restaurant, no problem. It's not going to, you do set out all the cards. But if you're into lighter games and you like cooperative games, this is one I'd recommend, and I'm going to be keeping it, partially because of the nice box size. I do like that small, compact box size. Next, we have Letter Jam. It won my 2019 Game of the Show from Origins, and it's spectacular. It's one of my favorite word games of all time, and I will keep it forever. At the higher player counts, it has these amazing moments where you can feel absolutely super clever, and I don't get those moments in other games. You might, every once in a while you will, maybe you math out something really good in Power Grid. You ever had one of those ones where it's I have exactly the right amount of money to make this work, and you want to tell everybody. You're I want to tell you. Well, most of the time people don't want to hear about that because they're also trying to crunch all those numbers in their head. Luckily, in this game, it's cooperative, so everyone's going to be you're so clever! And you'll be yeah, and you'll get that endorphin release. But then you might give your clue, and they might be you're not so clever. This isn't very helpful. And it has some really cool moments. Highly recommended at the higher player counts. We did a Thoughts from the Corner at 3 players. I think we might do a gameplay of this at the higher player counts because it is such a fun game. It's a little bit difficult to describe, but it's a cooperative spelling game. Big fan. Letter Jam from CGE. Absolute recommend trying that one out. Next, we have Water and People in a Box. I'm not sure why I didn't do the expansion. This is the expansion for Village in a Box, which I did last time, and I kept it in my collection because I think it's a really, really cool trading game. It reminds me of a gamery version of Pit to a certain extent, because I really do like Pit as well. And you're just building a village in front of you. You don't physically build the village. It's more just stacking up cards that you need these 3 cards in order to build this 1 card and gaining points. But I like it, and this adds more to the box, so all about that. Even though I am annoyed that since the original Village in a Box is so small, I cannot include the expansion material in there. So I'd like to see a second edition of Village in a Box that could accommodate all that. Next, we have Architectura. Stupid name, but a very cool game from Arcane Wonders. This is a game where you're going to be given a handful of cards, and you're going to play these cards down, and based on where you play them on the city grid, you're going to be rotating cards, and all the different cards have different special abilities. But where this game really leaps off is the amount of asymmetricalness you can get with this game because how drastically different a lot of these cards are. And each of the cards have their own unique deck. The first time you play it, you'll probably like it. And once you start adding all that asymmetrical stuff, it really changes the game up a good deal. And this is one of those games that if I ever see promo cards for this, I'm going to jump on them because even just getting 4 promo cards can really drastically change potentially a strategy you might have in this game. Really cool game. Don't let this one fly under your radar if you're into, say, lighter weight, 30 to 45 minutes, 2 to 4 player game. Really enjoy this one going into the collection. Next, we got Exit the Game, the Stormy Flight. This is in the Escape Room series. This one cannot be replayed ever again, so obviously I'm getting rid of it. And we also did not have very much fun with this one. There just wasn't enough that you could do that was 2 or 3 or 4 people keeping them engaged. And unfortunately, it just felt like mostly it was a solo puzzle with some other people in the background. Did not like that. But what we did like was the crew from Cosmos. This is an absolutely outstanding trick-taking game, a cooperative trick-taking game. If you like trick-taking games, Wholeheartedly recommend this. We played it through 2 players, and we really enjoyed it. I can't wait to play it more at the higher player counts. The crew, outstanding if you like trick-taking games, immediately into the collection. I'm probably going to get a Bauer's Best seal. Next, we got Glass Alibi. We shot a gameplay video of this one. It's a really interesting storytelling game. It seems like the kind of thing you would do when you're training to be like an actor or do improv or something like that, because it's all storytelling. They're going to give you some set pieces, and there is somewhat of a fun little game attached to it. We had way more fun than we expected we would. With a small box like this one's going to stay in the collection. Next, we got Stinky Pig, which just lost its top. This is a very simple little... and you're going to be passing the pig around. It's kind of like left, center, right, where you're going to be passing it to the left, to the right, and you're trying to keep your chips. It was for my 4-year-old. We had a good deal of fun with it. We did Bauer Family Learns, and he likes it an awful lot. Plus, it has a farting pig. What more do you want? Next, we got Bye Bye Mr. Fox, the new one from Blue Orange Games. This is a really simple game. Obviously, this is for ages 5+. I think you can play with 3 or 4-year-old, where you're just going to be trying to get eggs into the different hens things and spinning a spinner. And it's a pretty random game, but I liked the components. They worked nice. The kids had fun with it, and it was difficult. We actually lost the first time we played it. Second time we won, but it was very, very close. So, Bye Bye Mr. Fox. Did enjoy it. I don't think it's great, but I think it's a good kids game. Good children's game. They can play it by themselves once they get older. Next, we have Aggravation. This game is really stinking bad, and it's a dinosaur. Gameplay mechanism-wise, it's one of those games where you have to roll a specific number just to get out of your base, and so if you don't roll that specific number and you don't have anybody out of your base, it's just, 4, my turn's over, 5, my turn's over, 1, I finally got out, no, somebody landed on me, so now I'm back at my starting spot, 3, turns over. You can have long stints of time where that will happen, and that's just not fun, and this is not a fun game. Out of the collection, it's bad. Probably give that away to someone in my class once I finally get back into my class. Next we have Jackpot Yahtzee. Win big with a little luck and a lot of strategy. And they mentioned that all over the box. And I thought that was a really interesting thing. So when I first read this, I was excited. I was like, Yahtzee, but with more strategy? That sounds interesting. That sounds King of Tokyo-esque, because that's pretty much what that is. And it's not. It actually, I feel like there's less strategy in this game than there is in just regular Yahtzee. And that's really saying something. It was an enjoyable enough game. We did a Bauer Family Learns on it, but it's not one that I ever plan on really revisiting. So this one is one that we're probably going to take apart for components, because it does have some really cool components in it, but that one's out of the collection. Next we have Piece of Pie, the new one from Blue Orange Games. They sent a whole bunch of games. They're releasing 20 games this year. Wowza, for 2020, and hopefully I'll be reviewing all of them. But this is one of them. We did a Bauer Family Learns on it. We'll do a review on it once we played it a couple more times, and once I played it with my game night to see what they think about it as a lightweight filler game. But it's a really simple 2 to 5 player, 15-minute game where you're going to be drafting different pieces of pie and trying to get the most points. But what really could mix it up is there's going to be different ways you're going to score each time for different patterns or different this or different that. It had just enough going on to keep me interested, and I dug it. I don't know if it's one I'm going to keep. I have to see if it's going to be something that will ever see the light of day on game night. I don't think so, but maybe. And also, if you're into lighter games or family weight games, that's one you might want to check out. For right now, it's into the collection, but it's on life support because of Corona. Well, because I can't play any games with anyone because of Corona. That sounded really morbid. Next, we have 13 Dead End Drive, continuing the morbid theme. This game, so we did a Bauer Family Learns of 13 Dead End Drive and a Bauer Family Learns of 13 Dead End Drive. 13 Dead End Drive is the superior game. 13 Dead End Drive, I think we already trashed it or gave it away or let somebody borrow it or something like that. But that one is out of the collection. This one is also going to go out of the collection because it's still not a particularly good game. It's just rolling around, and the fun part is obviously, the statue could follow someone or someone could fall in the fireplace, and you got to ham it up. It wasn't enjoyable enough, but it's been vastly surpassed by lots and lots of other games since this one out of the collection. Plus, it's one of these big sideways boxes that take up a whole boatload of space. They poke out of your shelf, and my goal is to one day have none of those poking out. Next, we have Pulsar 2849. This one's from CGE, 2 to 4 players, 60 to 100 minutes to play. This is a really enjoyable game. We shot what did we shoot on this one? We shot a Thoughts from the Corner on this one. I really dug it. Lots of symbology, different ways to win, moving all around the map. It was really cool. The theme's there, but it's not really strong. But I did really enjoy the game. One thing that I do want to mention is I enjoyed this game a good deal, but the other people I'm playing with liked it even better. So, and I've heard nothing but good things about it. So Pulsar 49 is one that's going to go into my collection, but I don't know how long it'll last. That will really depend on if other people want to play it, because myself personally, I don't think I could recall the rules on this one. Personally, I would not want to reread the rules on that one. So that one's into the collection, but on live support. That one's really going to be kind of swung by my game group. So next we have the Truck Off, the Roll and Write, the Food Truck Frenzy game, and this is a really dirt simple roll and write game based off Truck Off, which was a game that came out a couple years ago. What really interested me about this game is that it was 0 to 99 players, which meant I felt like that there was a way that you could just watch the game play itself, which I thought would be absolutely fascinating, because I've done that before on video games, where it's like you play on like Madden or NFL 2K and you just play a game. Yeah, that's how much I liked football when I was younger. But this, unfortunately, does not actually have a 0 version play of the game, so that was kind of disappointing. But the game itself is very light and simple, minimal components. It's just a pad and the dice. There's a double-sided map, and they're different-ish. I mean, they're not terribly different. You know, overall, I wanted a little bit more out of this game. That's really what I wanted from this. And I feel like with how many other roll and write games are out right now, you can't just do the bare minimum. Look at Cartographers, and look at the variability in the Cartographers box. Without any expansions, without anything else, Cartographers is going to give you a different experience a lot of the time. This one, not nearly as much. So I think it's good, but I don't think it's anything that's worth really writing home about. I'm going to do a Bauer Family Learns where I teach my son it, because I think he will enjoy it. So right now it's into the collection, but next episode, depending on his reaction, it might be out. Or I might forget to shoot that Bauer Family Learns, and this one might just sit in some corner collecting dust, trying to avoid being sent off into the desert. That's what I do with all my games, send them off in the desert. Speaking of the desert, Rainbow Poker. Oh my god! I hate this game so much with a vehement passion, because here's the thing. I love poker, and, you know, I like rainbows, they're cool, but it's mostly just, you know, whenever I see a poker game, I get excited about the game. And this one felt like it was trying to combine, was it poker and euchre, I think they said, or poker or something else, and it didn't do either of them particularly well. We shot a game night one of this, Thoughts from the Corner, and we all hated it. The rules, the text is insanely tiny, and the rules are just not as clear as you would like it to be. And it took us forever to get this game up and running and going. And so then we started to see what was in the game. You know, they started to, you know, lift up the engine a little bit, so the hood, so you can start to see the engine a little bit. That was not the initial expression that was coming in my mind, but we'll go with that one. And I liked what I saw. This is the kind of game where if there was a group that just played Rainbow Poker like every other Saturday, and it was just something they played, I would like to potentially join that group, because I think this is the kind of game that could be the kind of game that you'd play every single Thanksgiving, and your family would absolutely love, and it would become like a tradition, and you start to learn the different strategies and the nuances and all this different sort of things. But that's not what I'm looking for in a game right now, and that's not what I think most people are looking for in a game right now. And I think there's lots of other better games that do that, in particular, The Crew. So you know what? Forget that. Rainbow Poker, get out of here. I was being way too nice for Rainbow Poker. I think it's just because I haven't played it in months, and no, don't do it. Rainbow Poker, don't do it. But do join that Saturday night group. Next we got Lewd Animo. This is a really stinking cute game in which you are going to be stacking up these different little cutesy pieces and moving these different little cutesy pieces around the board, and there's fluffy and there's big round chunky dice, and if you guessed it, this is for very young children. My 4-year-old really enjoyed this game, and this is a really easy recommendation. This is one I'm going to keep, and this is actually one I can see myself letting other friends of mine borrow when they had younger kids, because this is definitely a go-to. That being said, I'm not a big fan of the box size. This is a big honking box, but they are really big components in there, and so it's one of those ones where it starts off just playing with the game, and it actually evolves into playing the game. So I think it's really good, but, you know, it's for the youngest of children. That's what you need to know here. I'd say 3 and 4 years old, maybe 5 and 6 if they're, you know, if they're not into that many games. But if they've started to play some of the other games, like some hobby games, I think they're going to be slightly bored by this one. So into the collection, but with an asterisk, which I feel like is quite a lot of these. Next we have Speedy Words. This one's from Foxmine. I enjoyed it. This is a really simple game in which you're going to flip over a card, and then you're going to have to look at the letter on the card and the picture over here and match the color. So we need a state, or what is this? A country that starts with the letter F, Finland. So if that were the case, I would win a card, and you go until you're out, and then whoever has the most cards wins. Very light, very simple. It's the kind of thing that I wish it was in some sort of distinctive packaging aside from the tin, like something more portable, you know, maybe like a little clasp on it and a little baggie, you know, like a love letter type of thing, maybe, I don't know. Just something different. It's going into the collection, but I think I might eventually remove it from this tin, which I normally hate to do, and put it into another game. I don't know. It's good enough to keep, though, I think, for certain situations. Next, we have Frankie Rockin' Vegas. This one is from Funbot. So don't get excited about the Rocking Vegas part. It has nothing to do with Las Vegas pretty much at all. It's just a really simple dice chucker that I actually did enjoy. I would put it on the same level as, say, a Martian dice or a zombie dice, except I like both of those. I like zombie dice better. Martian dice and Frankie Rockin' Vegas I'd put in the same playing field. Here's the thing. I don't think for most people this is going to be a game I can really recommend. I think it's good. I think it's fun. I really enjoyed myself. And I like replaying the game. It's a mindless dice chucker. There's a little bit of thinking going on there. I like how the scoring system works. But is it really something that lights the world on fire? No. Maybe at a bargain bin price, this would be a great gift for a kid. Maybe I'd say then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 range. I think they'd have a lot of fun with this. But as a go-to game night lightweight filler game, there's not enough meat here. There's not enough to keep me interested. I wish there was more in this game. Frankie Rockin' Vegas, it's in my collection because light dice games are actually some of my absolute favorite games. So it's into the collection because of that. But, you know what I'm saying, man. All right, what do we got going on next? We have Exchange. So this is the new one. Bicycle Games, who make the playing cards, is now releasing some games. They did this at last year's Gen Con. They're releasing 2 somewhat lighter strategy games. This is the first one I'm going to be talking about. There's another one over here, which we'll talk about in a second. Exchange, I thought it was okay. It's a game about stock market manipulation in which you're going to either be buying stocks or bonds or interest, and I know you're already bored. The theme is relatively boring, but the mechanisms are interesting. There's a very interesting sleeve system where you're going to have 3 sleeves, a phase 1 sleeve, a phase 2 sleeve, and a phase 3 sleeve, and you're going to be doing different things in the different phases. And there's this thing where you can look at what random upcoming event is happening, and then it costs you $50, and you have to decide on that, and buying low and selling high, and stock markets crash. And I thought it was okay to good when I played it at 3 players with the family. This is a game that I'm going to try at game night to see if it would work as like a lightweight gateway style game, but with more people, because I absolutely think the game is going to be better at the higher player counts because it's simultaneous actions for those 3 main phases, which means there's not going to be too much downtime there's not going to be too much of a time difference potentially going from 3 players to 6 players. So this is what I'm really excited to experiment with on game night. You'll probably see thoughts from the corner on both this and another one I'm going to talk about later. But as it stands, 3 players, I was not impressed enough to keep it. So if you're looking at this as a 3-player game, no, you're going to want it at I would say 5 or 6 players, because the potential for player interaction and player screwing people over in this could be very, very, very fun, but at the highest player counts. So Exchange, into the collection, once again, on life support here. Because here's the thing, right now we are slap dab in the middle of Corona time. I haven't had game nights for probably about a month and a half, 2 months. And so I'm playing games at 3 players or 2 players with my family, but I'm not going to be able to see what it's like at the higher player counts. So while I am giving a lot of asterisks in this particular episode, that's because I want to know. Because this game, I could see it being really fun potentially at 6 players. Well, let me rephrase that. I can see it being really fun to some people at 6 players. I think it's still going to be pretty good at 6 players, but I don't think it's on the lighter side. That's what you need to know. But let's continue on without rambling. This is Roll It. We shot a Bauer Family Learns on this. I want to play it at the higher player counts because I know I'm going to hate it even more at the higher player counts. It's this game with the big thing is you just got these dice things, I guess, and you put them in there, and then they have the different sides on them, and you're trying to lock people up, and when you lock people up, they change color. And it's really kind of neat and fun when you can lock up like a whole row, and it's like, oh, I captured 5 pieces. Or maybe you capture 10 pieces because you get to go in all different directions, but it's just way too wild, wild west and swingy for a game of this sort, which I'm drawing a blank here. It's one of my least favorite genres of games, the non-thematic abstract strategy games. That's it. I'm not a big fan of abstract strategy games, and this one, I just thought it was you're going to have no control at 3 and 4 players. That's what I'm trying to get here, and that is something I do not like in games. I don't play games. I don't play hobby games, so I can't have control. I play hobby games because I want to have control, and this one at the higher player counts absolutely does not do that. Next, we have the Liberation of Riotburg. This one's from Cosmos, and my son went absolutely nuts for this. He wants to play it again and again and again. Rated Battle Family Learns will do a review of it once I played it with some adults, because I really want to see what their opinions are. We're hopefully going to play it with my wife as well. But this is a game, it's a cooperative game where you're going to be going around, you're going to be beating up these bad guys, you're going to be trying to complete certain objectives and complete a certain number of those objectives in order to win the game. And everybody has their own asymmetrical characters and special abilities, and there's like 4 or 5 or 6 of them. And so I'm excited to play through it. And this is the kind of game where if it did get popular, I could see them just pumping out expansions, and I think it would make the game better. Because as it stands, I like the variability in the game. I like the fact that I was never quite sure what was going to be happening, and that was fun. I liked what the different characters brought to the table, and I like the system. It's a very clean system in this game. So the Liberation of Riotburg, pretty sure this one's going to be staying in my collection, despite the 2 to 4 player count, which is typically a player count that's pretty hard to get games to the table with. Doesn't help that my son went absolutely nuts for it. Speaking of my son going nuts for games, we have Sheep Boom Ba. This one is from One Day West Games. It's 20 minutes, 2 to 4 players, ages 8+, and this is a really simple game in which you are going to be taking these really nice-looking meeple sheep. And I got to say, the box insert for this game is just absolutely outstanding. The components for this game, check out the unboxing video if you're interested. Really nice components, good box insert, holds everything well, and this is a really solid family game for those kids, I'd say in the 7 to 11, 12 age range, where they can read the special abilities on the card, because there's lots and lots of reading in this game, reading all the different special abilities. But if your kids can handle that, I think they're going to like the variety of different special abilities. The theme is fun, and overall, we had a good deal of fun with it, even though you need to know it's a lightweight family game. Continuing on, we have Plumbers Pants from Hasbro. This one we got from my youngest 4-year-old son, and it did not disappoint. It is a game where for some reason you were trying to put tools onto a plumber's pants, and eventually his pants are going to fall down, and he's going to poke his head out from a sink, and everyone's going to get sprayed with water, and everyone's going to laugh, and that person's eliminated from the game, and the game lasts about 5 minutes. And my 4-year-old thinks it's the greatest thing ever existed. And if you have a child, I'd say between the age of 2 to 6, once they get past the initial fear of watching his head pop up, they're going to be absolutely delighted by this game. My 7-year-old is absolutely delighted by this game. And I'll be brutally honest with you, it has a lot of spraying power. So make sure you have a good area where you don't mind it getting wet. And it's a fun, very simple, light game. One that I can recommend. No batteries. Hasbro's Plumbers Pants. This one's going in the collection, despite the box is never going to get used, because once you assemble it, it doesn't fit back in the box. Cooking customers. Speaking of frustration, this is a take that style game for 2 to 5 players, 20 to 40 minutes to play, in which you are going to be cooking people and scoring points, and it's just an absolutely not fun game. And here's the thing. I got into the hobby enjoying Take That games a good deal, but as I played more and more, I liked Take That less and less. I will still play Take That games, but they have to be good for me to really enjoy them. Like, most of the time, I can get by with a subpar game and say, oh, whatever. Like a subpar deck building game, subpar worker placement game. I can get by with those games. And hopefully you know what I'm talking about when I say that. But a subpar Take That game is just one where it's like, oh, nails on a chalkboard for me, even though I kind of like that sound. This one, my main issue with this game is there's just way too many ways to cancel out other people's entire turns. Just losing turns and stealing things that you take your whole turn to get. And I hate when I can literally look at a game and I can go back and think about a game and say, you know what, I probably lost 7 turns in that game. And that's what kind of game this is. There's just way too many attacking cards, and dear God, it plays 2 players. You would never, ever, ever want to play this with 2 players. It would be nonstop attacking, because literally every single turn, you attack someone, and you have the cards to do it. And oh no, just no thank you. Cooking customers, never, ever, ever, ever again. Next we have the 100 Tory from Pencil First Games LLC. I enjoyed this one. I want to see what my game night thinks about it. It's 1 to 4 players. I enjoyed it as a solo experience, but it's essentially you're going to be walking through these gardens and trying to have the best walks through gardens by seeing certain things and going through different colored fences. It is at its heart mostly an abstract strategy game. I mean, the theme is there. Don't get me wrong, the theme is absolutely there, but the theme could have been replaced by any number of sort of things. This could have been a game about road tripping and making sure you hit McDonald's and KFC at the same time. You know, that being said, they did go whole hog on the artwork, on the box insert, on the components. They went really, really good with the box insert, but it was just too much work. So they have like this really comprehensive thing where it's like, this is exactly how to place it back into the box, and I tried it, and then it was like, no, I was like, okay, never mind. We're just gonna do it like it was too much work, to be honest with you. It's a tile laying game. I enjoyed it. Once again, this one's in the collection on live support, though, as I see how it does on game night, as many of these games are. One game that is nowhere near on live support is the Seventh Continent. This is the classic edition. It's a much smaller box, and it's pretty much just cards. If you've never played Seventh Continent, you probably heard about it. This is the time to get into the game. If you like choose your own adventure, if you like story style games, this nails it. There's some confusing factors here and there that will pop up. There will be times where you'll be looking through the rules. You'll be like, I think I saw it here. I'm not quite sure. The rules I wish were slightly better. There's a great watch it played video, but still there's some rules where I was like, I'm not sure how this is supposed to interact. But here's the thing, being a cooperative, mostly storytelling game where you know you're going to lose most of the time because it's insanely difficult, it becomes much more about the experience that you're having and then the mechanisms. So I could forgive the fact that there were some times where I just had no idea what to do with a particular card or with something going on. Because this is an amazing story in a box. I can't wait to keep playing this and keep discovering things. I had a blast playing it with my son. We really enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing it solo. I enjoyed playing with my wife. And if you have kids between the age of, say, 7 to 7+, just 7+ period, who can handle potentially darker themes with, you know, people getting attacked or people getting killed and stuff like that, if they can get past that, I didn't see any sexual content or anything like that. This is absolutely such an amazing experience to go on with your family, and every game is going to be so different. I was amazed by just how different every time we played was, and even when we went to the same location, we'd have different things happening. Really cool. Seventh Continent, believe the hype. If you didn't believe the hype, you believe it. Because I was the same way. I heard all these good things about it, but I never played it. Now that I've played it, woo, absolutely. So, down to the final ones. Next, we got Cone Zilla. This one's a really simple one from Fox Mind. This is a game I'm absolutely keeping my collection for as long as I have a collection, because it is all about putting numbers in numerical order, which is a concept that some kids have a lot of issues with. If you can make a game about that, this really does help. And I think this is absolutely a fantastic game to teach kids about that concept. You're just trying to get 10 ice cream cones or 10 scoops of ice cream on top of each other. If you can do that, you win the game, but you have to put them in numerical order. There's also a memory aspect to it. Really dug this one. This one's going in the collection. I enjoyed it. My son enjoyed it. Next, we have the Alpha. This is the other game from Bicycle. Very cool theme where you're going to be playing as different wolf packs and trying to hunt down these different animals. And I was very happy with the components. There's a really cool looking board that, you know, is going to keep track of everything. They have all the meeples are wolf shaped. You got these big, chunky targets that you can go after, like the different animals that you can try and attack. And I really like the components. I like the dice. I wish there was a little bit more variability. I think this was a big, huge missed opportunity, not making some of these things double-sided that could have been double-sided. For instance, like the fish. So, for instance, these fish and hare, these are two things you can go after, and they're different distinctive animals. They're going to roll different dice, but I really wish they would have made these double-sided, maybe added some more mechanisms in advanced version of the game. That little things like that always bug me, because you know the person that designed this game, they'd been like, hey, you think you can come up with 2 more animals? They'd be like, yeah, absolutely. But the alpha, we really enjoyed this one. I'm excited to play at higher player counts as well. I think this is definitely going to be the one that does better between alpha and exchange, which was the other one for bicycle. I think this is one you might see in like a Walmart Target style situation and could become very potentially popular because of the theme, components, and the fact that it's an enjoyable game. So the alpha, this one's going into the collection. Next, we have Save the Dragon from Blue Orange Games. It's a very light, simple game in which you are going to be rolling a dice and trying to move yourself up on this big, cool staircase. Watch the unboxing video or the Bauer Family Learns if you want to see how it works. Very light, very simple. I wish there was more meat on the bones with this game that could have made this, turn this from a good game to a great game, I do think. So I hope they come out with some expansions. But I did have a big issue with the rule booklet. I nearly broke the stinking game the first time I tried to put it together because in the rule booklet, they have a 3D rendering of how to assemble this really awesome looking staircase that you're going to assemble. However, the 3D rendering is incorrect. And so I nearly broke the thing. Check out the unboxing video. It's probably the longest one I've ever done. I think my unboxing video for this game is longer than my unboxing video for like some of the bigger stuff that I've unboxed, just because I spent a legit 10 minutes frustrated trying to put the dang thing together any way I could. Then we got Sorry Sliders. This one, so Sorry Sliders in itself was pretty much, the only reason that it was Sorry is because they wanted to sell more copies of it. Sorry Sliders and Sorry are very, very different games. And Sorry Sliders and Sorry Sliders The Cars 2 edition are also very, very different games. Sorry Sliders actually had like this area control mechanism where you're trying to get in a certain spot and knock people out, that sort of thing. Not with this. This is just straight flip car right here where you're just going around a track and you're trying to race them. But there are some interesting spots. There's a spot where you have to close your eyes if you land on it. And I enjoyed the game. It's a little bit long. The assembly of the track was not as good as you'd like it to be. And actually, I did not particularly enjoy the game. I actually think this is just purely an okay game. I didn't know if it was worth all the struggle. You're going to want to house rule it. But that being said, if you can find this for dirt cheap and you can find another version of this game and you can start making longer tracks, I think that really bumps up this game. Like if I found another version of this game at the store, I'd absolutely get it. As it is now, though, I have enough games, so I'm going to just let my kids assemble this and destroy it and have some fun with it. Woo! But last but not least, woo! We got Mighty Mice. This one from Foxmine. This is a very light, simple stacking game. I did not enjoy it. My family did not particularly enjoy it. And as I said in the review, if you're going to be going into the stacking or the memory game department when it comes to children's games, you have to bring it. Like that is their bread and butter. You know, there's so many of them that you cannot release a mediocre one. And this is a mediocre one. Nothing about this really stands itself apart. The box is way too large, so you're going to be less likely to want to keep it anyway. And the gameplay is just meh. I played games that are like 40 or 50 years old. Blockhead comes to my mind. It's another stacking game where you're doing stacking. Vastly better than this game. Probably 40, 50, 60 years old. This is one of those games that's going to be lost to the shelves of time. And I personally, this is what I'm going to give to some family that doesn't have that many games. But there you go. That has been Games In, Games Out. If you enjoy what I'm doing, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. If you want to support the channel, consider supporting the Patreon down below. Win free stuff every single month. We got giveaways every month. And in the comments below, let me know. What's the game in your collection that is currently on live support? And what is that game? What is that game and why? I just went over a whole bunch of mine, but let me know what yours is. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.